Hello, this is Reverend Joseph Andrew Jensen Sr. I just made a video about GODScoin, but I'm going to redo and see which one's best. But both of them be on YouTube. You can look at both. This one might be a little bit more clear. Almost a year now, I've mentioned the year. I mentioned the date of November the 16th, 2024 as being a magical date for announcing GODScoin. GODScoin, as of today, will be worth $75,000. What is a GODScoin? GODScoin is not a currency; it's a share. For instance, if I go to a country like Burundi, which is the poorest country in the world, which I will, and I go there with $12 billion, even $12 million, everybody in Burundi is an instant millionaire. Okay? Does that make sense to you? Well, now we're talking about billionaires. I got 5 billionaires God's had in mind for quite a while, and I already sent them letters, and I already tried to get them interest, but nobody answered. Well, now it's not a choice of answering. Today is like the day everybody's called out, because God's taking over the world. God's actually going to take over the world. Why is he going to take over the world? Because God's going to build heaven on earth, regardless of what we want, regardless of what we want to do. And he's going to bring some truth to this world too. What do I mean by that? The truths of the world. Who's been running this world? Nobody's free. We run under governments. We run under religions. They tell us how to live, what to do. They make the rules. They've made more rules. They don't benefit us. And they're not in anything. God's not included in any of those decisions. No. Man's been doing their will almost 5,000 years. Almost the whole time, the earth. They stopped doing God's will shortly after the Garden of Eden. The only thing that was to do was God's will was to be caretakers of this world. The Garden of Eden. The animals and the plants and the trees were just told that was their job. God's doing God's will. I got to mention a lot of things on the other videos. It'd be good for you to see both videos. But the point of the matter is, all these rules they were never made by God. They're made by extensions of people that call themselves God, think themselves God. No. God's will is not to tell you how to live. He's not here to micromanage anybody's life. God gives you breath. God's inside you. You have to watch the other video. It'll give you a further explanation. But God is inside each one of us. He fires the synapses of your brain. You can't think, move, or do anything. You can't smell, hear, see, taste, any of five normal senses. We got more senses than just those five. Just being able to think is a sense. We have sense enough to think. Does that make sense? Then we do have ESP when we're born, and we carry it for a little while until we're so distracted we can't concentrate. We're just too distracted. When we're not distracted as an infant, we do have that ability. I can prove that, and have proven it. But let's get back to GODScoin. GODScoin's here. I announced for almost a year now that this day would come on November the 16th, 2024. This day would come. When this day's coming, and I mentioned, I am also going to include, which I didn't in that video, those with Bitcoin today that wants to trade one Bitcoin in, they can get 2 GODScoin. They can get 2 GODScoins immediately. GODScoin is not a currency. It's a share. Because, for instance, when I collect somebody like Donald Trump hands me $8 billion, he might keep $1 billion for himself and put $7 billion. But when he takes $7 billion, it won't do him any good to keep his money, because it's going to devalue every day by $1,000. That's right. Today is worth $75,000. Tomorrow it's worth 74, then 73, 72, 365 days a year. You know what I'm saying? That's $365,000. You know, devalued. That wouldn't be right. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, 360. So it wouldn't take a whole year. It'd only take, 75 days to be dropped down to nothing, which doesn't do you any benefit to own GODScoin. It's because you didn't listen. There's still something you can do, even if you miss, you don't get involved. Because everybody eventually in the whole world will have GODScoin. 9 billion people on this planet, plus all future generations. The only way to stop governments, stop religions, stop anybody is by taking away their funds. And the people can only have their freedom by putting everybody out of power. How do you do that? Well, I showed you in the other video, and I'll say you again. When, say, a rich person like Donald Trump goes to Burundi, and this will happen to every country, but starting with Burundi with only 12 million people. He goes there with 7 billion. 7 billion is immediately buying Burundian francs. It's given which is 5,000 to the dollar. Okay? When I make the Burundian franc equal to the GODScoin, that means that Donald Trump's money just jumped up 5,000 times. That's 7,000. He'll be a trillionaire in Burundian francs. But while the United States dollar's going down $1,000 every day, devaluating, while you guys are making up your minds in the United States. They're holding on, and they're going to get the rest of the world in their currencies. They're not dropping. They're staying exactly where they are and waiting on GODScoin. So I sell GODScoin on my website. My website, if you put it in words, it's God's Living Ministry, GODSmessage.com. Write that in small case letters. GODSLIVING MINISTRY GODSmessage.com. Make it all small letters. Don't put any apostrophes or don't capitalize anything. If you put that sentence, God's Living Ministry, GODSmessage.com, hooked together, and you put it, you're going to see me with Big Santa Claus. My GODScoin is available there for $1 a piece. A $75,000 share is worth that. You won't see the shares, but you'll have the shares, because when you go to the bank, Everybody in the family, including bring the newborn baby or bring the oldest person in the family, they all have to go there to have their fingerprints taken, to have their pictures taken, to have their voice, whatever. They just really they won't do all that. I mean, they'll still take the fingerprint identification, but they really just need your name and your birth date. Nobody can copy your name and birth date. I mean, it's possible, but then you add your fingerprint on there, it's double security. When you add your photo, that's even more. Fact of the matter is, a newborn or an elderly that's too old to get there are not expected to go to the bank anyway. 18-year-olds will be given a phone. The phone, it'll be an Apple phone or it'll be a Pi phone, a Tesla Pi phone. This phone here has facial recognition, voice recognition, fingerprint identification, hand geometry. This phone here will be given to every 18-year-old there is. Somebody has to go to the bank. There's no more electronic transfers, no more cards, because there's no more hacking on this. Because GODScoin is not a currency. It's a share. When I say Donald Trump goes there, and I simply tell everybody in Burundi, okay, everybody, I make the division. There's supposed to be 12 million people there. I say there's 20 million. I increase it to 20 million because there's going to be people born. A newborn gets their share too. So I'll divide 20 million into whatever the $7 billion dollars, actual dollars, that Donald Trump puts in there, and that's how much each Burundian gets, including that's what's in reserve for the newborns. Then that country has enough. It doesn't get any more. They got more than they can spend. There's other ways to make the GODScoin too. That's those that join God's services, but we'll bring that up later. We can bring it up now too, because you get the phone. When you get into the bank, you get the phone. Those 18 have everybody's account on there so they can come in and do the banking for everybody. You guys can get that. The bank is there because all they got to do is have the representative set it up for voice, facial recognition, voice recognition, fingerprint identification, hand geometry, and then after the phone representative does that, you close your phone. Then you open it up for the banker. Opening the phone with the banker, then you hand it to the banker. They put in the website, their bank information, with all the accounts of the whole family. So that one person can go in there and do the banking for all of them, even the newborn infant. Every GODScoin is dated. 20 years, you have to use it or lose it. It's only good for 20 years. You can't save it. You got to use it or lose it. Invest, buy, party, do whatever you want. God does not micromanage anybody's life. That's where everybody's getting mistaken. God wouldn't do that. What God wouldn't do is what we are saying we do. God wants, and that's we're saying God wants us to be nice. God wants us to be careful. God wants. You know what God really wants? He wants us to be spontaneous. God wants us to live life without rules. He wants to adventure. He wants us to take chances. He wants us to take risks. He wants us to do things we're not supposed to do. You think it's enjoyable for God to listen to the same prayers over and over? Or to watch the same traditions? No. That's opposite what God would want. God doesn't want us being robots. Our heart's not in it. But when we decide to just go, spontaneously go, God's directly into that, because you're taking God with you. God lives in you. God lives in each one of us. We're doing the opposite of what God wants. We say God wouldn't swear. God wouldn't eat. He won't eat pork. He won't drink beer. The heck? Who makes those kind of rules? People. People have made those kind of rules. They decided what God wants and what He. You know what's more worse than that? It's to say that you have God and you don't even know where God is. You ain't got a clue where God lives. You say He's in the sky. He's in heaven. Where's heaven? Heaven's in you. Inside you, God lives. Inside you, we all have DNA. So our family and our whole bloodlines live in, even our ancestors are living within us. We live in our children. They live in you. We've always known that. But we also live with everybody on the bloodline. Aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings. It makes no difference. We're all there. We are already immortal. Now, getting off that, we are trying to explain to you that the phone takes and enables the 18-year-olds to come in and do the banking. Every 18-year-old will be registered to vote at that point. That means everybody that's 18 years old on the planet will be voters. Then what power has the government's got? Tell me and we have the power 24/7. First vote we'd make is that we can vote by phone from home. What can you do then? Can they get into the they can't get in your home. They can't get in your unless they get into your mind. That's what they'll try to do. But they can't even do that. You know why? Because they're going to get GODScoin themselves. And as soon as they start messing with another person, anybody messing with any other person, they're subject to, first off, their GODScoin account could be suspended, pending investigation. Investigation is going to come out of their bank account, no matter how much it is, depending on what they find and what they do. And you could lose part of it, all of it. And if you're found nothing was wrong, it will be reimbursed to you and more. That's what I'm trying to say. It's going to control every country. It's going to control every criminal, everybody's mind. The fact is, because you lose your income, you lose what you have temporarily, not unless, but then you just, if you do lose it permanently, all we do is erase it off the book. Every GODScoin, this part I did not include there, but the voting is new, so that's why it should have been mentioned on the last. Also, God's Living Ministry gets a duplicate GODScoin with that date, with that time, with your name, your birth date. I have a duplicate GODScoin identifying you. So even if you sell yours, I mean, if you use yours in any kind of way, I still have that. But if you say you wanted to, let's put it this way, I have to pay anybody that wants to redeem it a GODScoin right away. I have to have that back.